The issue of Rupert, Rob, Arthur, Lowe continues. A party in possession of a strongman leader. What was it? Jane Austen might have said, "It is a truth universally acknowledged that a populist party in possession of a strongman leader must be in want of a civil war." Well, such is the fate of Reform UK, where Rupert, Rob, Arthur, Lowe and his spectacular ejection from that party is proving to be not just a momentary scandal, but a sign of impending collapse for Britain's far-right political project, for which we cheer. Hurrah! Rupert Lowe, Rob Rupert Arthur Lowe's Loki's downfall began with accusations of bullying and violent threats, which led to his suspension from Reform UK. But this is more than an internal disciplinary matter. It's a reflection of deeper ideological fractures within the party. And the ostensible cause of the schism is Loki's hardline rhetoric on the issue of grooming gangs and his belief that reform was silencing him. And Farage, always the consummate political operator, countered now that Loki's language, specifically his references to repatriation and mass deportations, was beyond the pale, even by Reform UK's standards. Well, Farage's swift and brutal response to Loki's outburst speaks volumes. By barring Loki from returning to the party, he's drawn a line between himself, the seasoned political opportunist, and the radical agitators within his ranks, his radical rankers. Arthur Rob Rupert Lowe, for his part, is painting himself as the wronged man, the champion of true reform values, now seeking alternative political avenues. It won't get far. This feud exposes the inherent contradictions within Reform UK. The party has thrived on a blend of anti-elite populism, migration scepticism, performance outrage, but its ability to maintain cohesion has always been tenuous, and the same thing has happened with Farage's other political projects. With Lowe and Farage publicly trading blows now, the party is tearing itself apart. Compounding this crisis is the intervention of Elon Musk, who has reportedly shown interest in supporting Lowe's potential splinter faction. And while the billionaire's erratic political dalliance often amounts to little more than Twitter noise, his involvement indicates that Reform UK is no longer seen as a stable vehicle for the radical right in Britain. It's attracted the mad people from the US. Farage's party, once a threat to the Conservative base, is now looking dangerously close to a UKIP-style implosion. And with Lowe eyeing a new venture, possibly alongside former deputy leader Ben Habib, Reform risks splitting into irreconcilable factions: the pragmatists who want electoral legitimacy and the purists who demand ideological extremism. Reform's internal warfare could spell disaster for Britain's far right in Parliament. The party only won 5 MPs in 2024, but it won something in 2024, and it remains fragile, heavily reliant on Farage's personality cult. If Lowe and his allies break away, as they look as if they're likely to, it's difficult to see Reform retaining electoral credibility. The Conservatives, despite their own turmoil, might yet benefit from this schism by absorbing defectors like Lowe, who some within the Conservative Party see as a useful figure on immigration and grassroots activism. Moreover, this conflict exposes the limitations of Reform's ability to challenge Labour's dominance. While Reform polls well in right-leaning areas, its brand is still toxic to large sections of the electorate. The Lowe debacle is reinforcing that perception, making the party look more like a chaotic protest movement than a serious political force. If history is any guide, this is how British far-right parties collapse, not at the hands of political opponents, but through self-inflicted wounds. UKIP's demise began when it won its first MPs and promptly imploded under the weight of internal divisions. Those MPs all carry baggage which, in many ways, frankly, I think should exclude them from political office. They are soiled goods, all of them. And Reform is simply following the trajectory that has been laid out in the past as the internal squabbles reveal those soiled backgrounds, all that soiled underwear. Farage, despite his talents as a campaigner, he's also soiled, of course, has never been able to lead a stable party. Farage's soiling, self-soiling, is about his inability to follow through. Farage's flatulence without product. And now, as his leadership is questioned and his party fractures, Reform's future looks increasingly bleak. The next few months will be critical. If Lowe successfully forms a rival movement, it could leave Reform a hollowed-out husk, too weakened to challenge the Conservatives, let alone Labour. And if the party can't maintain unity with just 5 MPs, it certainly won't withstand the pressures of electoral politics. Farage may claim there's no way back, just as he claims, I'm not shallow. But the point is, the waters of Reform UK run very shallow indeed. And at the moment, they're dripping into obscurity. The real question is not whether there's any future, whether there's any way back for Rupert Rob Arthur Lowe, but whether there's any way forward for Reform UK. And I think the answer has to be no.